If you're doing any kind of work on this, you're going to be saying to me, we are only touching the tip of the iceberg on this stuff. There is so much back underneath there that people don't want to talk about. They don't want to admit to it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to be out in the public.
When Alan Rae's wife was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at just 59, neither of them knew what the years ahead would look like. 16 years later, Alan is still caring for Joan, and along the way, he helped create a community for hundreds of other people living with dementia and their care partners.
Regarding the dementia, she says, I can't say enough about the Conversation Cafe thing. He says, without those people, without those events, I don't know how I would have survived.
In this episode of Unison TV, you'll get a look inside a Calgary Conversation Café meeting. The informal gathering is a place to share stories, get support, and build solid connections.
Basically, I have probably inadvertently created what I've done with Conversation Cafe to create my own family, to create my own connections, to create people that I can interact with and people who care. Like something goes wrong tomorrow, I got half a dozen people I could phone instantly and have help with. Not family though. It's people in the community.
At a Conversation Cafe, caregivers get a break, share some laughs, and in some cases, get a glimpse into the future.
Let's say you're the one that's been diagnosed and whatever, and you're there with your partner, and you're going all through your mind about all the things that could be happening where you fit. And then across the table, you got this guy saying, well, this is Joan and this is where we're at. We're 16 years into this journey and we're at our home and we're doing whatever. They don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They don't want to know that, hey, I got the risk of this happening for that long.
We can all learn from Alan and Joan's story of 16 years of living with Alzheimer's and of creating their own community.
How has participating changed your life?
Well, it's definitely given me purpose. It's allowed me to understand the deals that needs to help out. It's made me a compassionate, understanding individual that I probably was, but just never had the opportunity to kind of bring that out. The guy in the office there was Dr. Sullivan, who turned around and looked at the results and he says, in my view, you got a bigger problem here. He says, in my view, she's got Alzheimer's. We're 16 years now on this journey. So we started off right away putting her on the stabilizing medication, which will not cure the disease, but it stabilizes the person where they're at for a period of 2, 3, 5, sometimes longer years. The risk of that is that you're going to have a gradual downward curve without the medication. With the medication, you'll stay stable for a period. When it stops working effectively, you'll drop to where you would have been level fairly quickly. So we did that, and we got 9 good years out of it. And that was until COVID hit. The day that closed the border, we were coming back from Utah snowmobiling. Okay, so that's the level we're at. We started traveling at that point in time. We were traveling 20 to 24 weeks a year, all over the world, all kinds of activities, all kinds of stuff, whatever, and doing that sort of stuff.
Did you retire early as a result of this? I'm just curious about that because that's 59. Or were you retired already? Or were you working and doing all this?
I'm one of these lucky corporate guys that was in the right spot at the right time with the company, and I was a fleet manager for the company, and they were changing and downsizing, and West Coast gave me a buyout package at 53, which put me to corporate pension at 55 with no penalty from whatever. So that started me on a routing of saying, well, okay, what do I do? Joan was still working then. I was whatever. I had an opportunity to do logistics is my background. So I had an opportunity to do on the all on-road logistics for follow the hand cycle across Canada in 1999. So from St. John's, Newfoundland to Whistler, BC, gave me that opportunity to learn that the skills I had were my skills, not the corporate skills. Got me to recognize that working with the handicapped community, with people that had need and whatever. And that started me on a pathway, which this summer is now celebrating 28 years of a second career of volunteerism.
That's amazing. I can't wait to talk to you about that in itself as a separate story.
I've done projects all over the place, from Habitat for Humanity projects around the world to building playgrounds with an organization called Kids Around the World. Joan and I have got a plaque on a playground in Ecuador for our 25th playground that we were involved with.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, you guys. What a
um,
team.
so, we've done a lot of that type of thing where we would tie it in with vacations and
Yeah.
travel. Um, an example of that would be uh, Vietnam.
Hmm.
Not necessarily a country I'd travel to, but we ended up going and building a playground outside of Hanoi for a week. Then we went and did a week of sea kayaking in Ha Long Bay, and then
Oh,
2 weeks of general sightseeing in Vietnam.
man, you guys are
So
so like this was before Alzheimer's or after the diagnosis and you just went hard on
yeah,
all the
that would be
travel.
part
That's
of
when
the
you took advantage
hard.
of it.
Yeah,
That is so smart. Good for you. So you did have some like amazing years. What a team.
yeah. So
Mhm.
for people to say I'm retiring, what am I going to do? Yeah, I didn't quite know at the time what I'm going to do in the early side, but it's find something, find your passion, find your niche, and I'm bragging now, but I have had a second career of volunteering across Canada, locally, around the world, um, all over the place with projects and involvements and such. And so it's it's kind of, hey, you can sit in the corner,
Yeah.
vegetate on the couch and die next week, or else you can get off here and do something and not only
Wow.
contribute to society, but also have value added to your own lifestyle and keeps you active and going.
Such an
So
inspiration.
so it was during that traveling that I ended up coming across, and we were down in Palm Desert, generally once a year, sometimes twice with a timeshare stuff, and we ended up finding out about this conversation. Well, they called it a memory cafe or a gathering, but it was for people in the valley to get out once a month in the afternoon to have lunch together and have a talk and to share conversation about dementia and that side of it. So we attended on two occasions when we were down that way. Said this is a great idea. We need to have that at home. So it was with that in mind that I brought the idea back, and we ended up connecting with Dementia Network Calgary, who was looking for projects and things that we had a brainstorming session one spring day, and so I put forth that idea, and the idea came about. We started to get together, and the first conversation cafe that we had was at the Tap and Table Restaurant in October 9 years ago, and started from there. The concept behind it was to provide a place where people with dementia and their care partners could come out socially once a month to be able to engage, to be able to talk about the weather, the radishes in the garden, or he's doing that stupid thing all over again, kind of stuff. But to be able to do so in a confidential environment where you know that you're not alone, and that's probably our key mantra to the thing. Um, and we've
Wow,
gone on, yeah.
that's an amazing concept. Like you mentioned some topics there. Like what kind of topics do people talk about, or is it just like anything's on the table?
We basically allow everything on the table except we do not talk politics and we do not talk religion, and that keeps you out of a whole lot of messy kind of arguments and discussions and such. But it'll be
There's plenty
everything
to
from
talk about.
right,
Oh, there's plenty of other things to talk about. You don't need
oh,
to go
sure.
there.
Yeah. The biggest thing is to be comforting and listening to their stories. And everybody that we found on this dementia journey has got a different story. I don't know that there's anyone that's the same. The disease is there, but how every individual responds to it is totally different. Um, you're going to have all the variables of the stages of the disease and the type of dementias that they got. And then you throw into that the factors of lifestyle, you throw into that the factors of education, personalities, all the other things have influences on how a person does or doesn't do with it sort of thing.
How has
It's
participating changed your life?
well, it's definitely given me purpose. It's allowed me to understand the deals that these to help out. It's made me a compassionate, understanding individual that I probably was, but just never had the opportunity to kind of bring that out. So I've grown that way, and I think it's been a valuable thing for me. But it's also been great to also help Joan and understand Joan's journey as well. But I've also
Yeah.
never hesitated to have her out as part of the figurehead. So she's been actively involved with all of our conversation cafes for most of the period of time. Um, since COVID and since she dropped after COVID. I think what happened at COVID is that the medication stopped working in conjunction with us going from 20 to 24 weeks a year traveling to zero, along with the lack of social interactions. And I think you put all those three things together, and she went from being out hiking in Lanzarote in January time to being um, down at a quite a dependent level and fully incontinent in 8 months. Most people it hits at 2 or 3 or 5 years. We got 9 years
Mhm.
out of it, so I think
Hmm.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
Um, but she comes. I've always taken her regularly to virtually every conversation cafe. The social interaction is there. Some people are happy to see her there. Some people are not happy to see her at the level she's at, particularly now at the level she's at. Where we had her out this morning to a cafe. I'm now needing a little more help to get her in and out of the steps and around because her mobility is starting to get an issue. But it doesn't stop. You you're dealing enough with seniors, whatever. The people they're either extremely active and involved like I am, or they're what do I do in my life? Nothing. But there doesn't seem to be a lot in the middle anymore.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, you
it,
said people don't like to see her. They're sad for her, or they're concerned that that's where I'm going. Or what
if
do you
you've
mean by
just
that?
come, if you've just come along now, and you, let's say you're the one that's been diagnosed and whatever, and you're there with a
Mhm.
partner, and you're talking, we talk around,
Mhm.
and you've got this diagnosis. I got dementia of some sort. Oh, gee, I got the whatever, and you're going all through your mind about all the things that could be happening where you fit. And then across the table, you got this guy saying, "Well, this is Joan, and this is where we're at. And we're 16 years into this journey, and we're at our home, and we're doing whatever." They don't want to hear that kind of stuff. They don't want to know that, hey, I got the risk of this happening for that long. I got,
Person could look at it that way and go, "Oh, I don't want to see what the future holds." Or to me, it would be, I want as much information as I can,
mhm,
and I would want to hear from other caregivers.
yeah, yeah,
Or if I was the person, with dementia, or if it was my partner that was there, I'd want to absorb as much information and experience as possible from those who have gone before me. But I guess to each
mhm,
their own.
yeah. You're in the
Because
business of knowledge basing stuff. I'm a knowledge base, but there's
yeah,
others that don't want to know necessarily.
yeah.
You'd be
Well,
amazed. You if you're doing any kind of work on this, you're going to be saying to me, we are only touching the tip of the iceberg on this stuff. There is so much back underneath there that people don't want to talk about. They don't want to admit to it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to be out in the public. It's Alzheimer's
yeah.
talks about being 20 or 20 or 30,000 people and whatever. My gut feels a hell of a lot more than that out there. It's just that might be the diagnosed or the fully connected, but there's I happen you cannot hardly talk to any person. If you get talking to anybody on the street, in the supermarket, whatever, and you get beyond the superficial how whatever and whatever, 9 times out of 10 you're going to find they got someone in their life that they know that's got dementia.
Oh, or mental health for that matter, right? These are the things
Yeah,
that, we don't talk about.
right,
And
right.
it just kind of goes under the radar with a lot of people. And that's what makes these conversation cafes that much more important because it is that place,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, people can go online and go to ChatGPT or whatever and ask how, and get some counseling that way or whatever. But I still find, and I'm not, living in the past, but I still think there is value in being together in the same room. Do you agree?
Hmm. 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 Absolutely,
There's
absolutely.
certain connections that you just can't make until you're in that same room with somebody.
And as we say, we can't fix it necessarily, but we can listen, we
Hmm.
can support you, and you can go to this room letting you know that you're not alone, okay, and that someone else understands you and cares about what's going on.
Hmm.
And I was at a celebration of life on Wednesday for one of the members of our groups that came early on, went through blah blah, and passed away in about a 4 year period at the most. And his wife giving the eulogy stuff and whatever said, and regarding the dementia, she says, I can't say enough about the Conversation Cafe thing. He says, without those people, without those events, I don't know how I would have survived. So, there's the other
Wow.
side of it.
What greater gift can you hear
Yeah.
than that? The remarkable impact that you've had on other
Yeah.
people's lives just by, having the wisdom to bring this up to Calgary. And we have how many of them here now
Uh,
in the area?
yeah, we're back to 18. We had 19 for a little bit here, but 18 of them actively in the greater Calgary area every month, which, by the way, I personally attend every one of.
Wow. That in itself is amazing. Um, what do you think the face-to-face conversation, like why is it different than from talking online or by text? What happens in those
Um,
spaces?
well, I'm referring to you as well. You're in the people type business, but there's something about the connection you make with a person in real that you don't necessarily make through a Zoom or that type of connection. Um, I have learned to become a very good reader of eyes and facial expressions and such, and it's much easier to do in person
Mhm.
than it is through this kind of a media.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you
again,
think it,
if there's no other choice,
yeah.
it sure serves a great option. But
Mhm.
um,
Does it help in terms of loneliness too? Because I suspect that if you're a caregiver, you're spending an awful lot of time just you and that person in a house.
you can, and it can end up being that way for sure.
Mhm.
It's a matter of you making the decision that, hey, this isn't going to stop us from still having a life. And again, you're back to that same statement of personalities, education, desires, abilities, what you've done, financial size, all those things are factors in how a person does those sorts of things. But the biggest thing is getting out and communicate. Social, the word, and even with Unison stuff, you probably heard it before. Social interaction, how huge that is for seniors. Well, for everybody, really, in life, but
Mhm.
more so for seniors.
What would you say to someone who says, I'm not good at meeting new people and that this would be really out of their comfort zone to hang out with some strangers?
Come and sit and listen and absorb. You don't have to say anything.
Mhm.
The next meeting, they're talking.
Mhm. You can just sit back and be a fly on the wall if you
Yep.
want and just,
We've had many that way, and some of those people have become some of our more active and
Mhm.
you know, um,
And I'm assuming you guys don't bite, so
oh no,
that,
but I mean, came with anything with
yeah.
Unison, the groups, all the stuff.
Mhm.
The people that are active and engaged are the ones you see in the building every day, sort of thing. The ones that have gotten out of the house and off the couch. And whether they have a meaningful conversation with somebody along the way doesn't matter. They've had social engagement.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would you like to see happen with conversation cafes in the future?
I think it is the entity that serves where it is now.
Mhm.
Um, to say having more of them would be great, yes, um, because we know we're only capturing a small portion of that. But it the importance of what we've done and created is that um, we've done it under the auspices of Alzheimer's Calgary and Dementia Network Calgary and such. But we have avoided becoming part of their accredited programs, which then require formalities and rules and regulations. We've sidestepped the avoidance of becoming um, a club or an organization under the Societies Act, so that we don't get involved with all of that red tape. We've ethically, as our group leads are such, we are above board and where we're at, and we have been able to do this without getting into the formality side of stuff. I think that's probably one of the key essence of our success is that um, we're not tied to a set of rules or restrictions of any kinds of organizations. We can be flexible. We can make decisions on the. I can make a decision today. What happened? Whatever, and I make it with the best knowledge I have, with the preparedness we can change it tomorrow if we have to. but I don't have to consult with somebody, or well, we'll have to get back to you on that,
Yeah.
or our rules tell us that we've got to kind of
Yeah.
stay within this. Like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, I know. I get frustrated with the speed of change too sometimes.
Yeah, and so
Yes.
what we've fortunately I got a team around us. There's
Mm.
four or five of us actually on our action team, but we got a great mix of people, whatever, with the same level of experience and desire. Bring all of us bring different skills to the table, and we're just interested in helping others and getting the job done, and not getting. Unfortunately, a lot of our organizations out there are doing a great job, but they're all tied up in a bureaucratic kind of set of whatever's in it.
Yeah. It weighs you down.
Yeah, and
You
people
notice
that have needs don't need all the crap.
don't like those
No.
big bureaucracies. Um, Now would you say you're a founder of Conversation Cafe in Calgary, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Did you
yeah.
name it? That's your like it is your baby? That was your
Yeah, we went. The Conversation Cafe came that way. We went through about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Um, Dementia Network Calgary wanted to see Dementia Network Calgary kind of is a basket of organizations and starts things, and they should then be on their own. So we were kind of like the kids that hadn't grown up, hadn't left home in a sense. So they wanted us to be a more of an independent entity, and that's why we went through that side of it. But all of that said and done, so that was at that point that we then rebranded with the logo that we use. With not come out very clear there, but
Do you have any other supports? Any like family in the city or nearby?
no, we're both we're both second marriage for starters.
Mhm.
We've no children on either side on that
Mhm.
side of it. I don't have a very large family, so my parents, my two of my brothers and sister have already passed.
Yeah.
Um, I've got a few nephews that are distant that I have no connections with whatsoever. I have one nephew here who I keep in connection with, and we see each other once every few months, and that's about the only connection. So basically, I have probably inadvertently created what I've done with Conversation Cafe to create my own family, to create my own connections, to create people that I can interact with and people who care. Like I have a something goes wrong tomorrow, I got half a dozen people I could phone instantly and have help with. Not family though. It's people in the community. It's what community is about.
You hit it right there. That's what a great point to end it on that, family isn't just the people we're related to. You can make
Yeah,
your own family and make
yeah,
those connections. Wow,
yeah.
some great points that you made, and congratulations to you as well. I saw that you won an award through the Alzheimer's Calgary for your work
Mhm.
with Conversation Cafe. It's tremendous what you've done. You've changed so many lives and continue to do so, and so inspired by the work you've been doing.
Mhm.
Give us all a lot to think about.